This conference will now be recorded.
Good evening, this is Jack from Charting the Markets, and this is the Bigger Picture webinar for Wednesday, the 16th of October. Okay, right, let's have a look at the markets. Okay, we've seen a bit of a retracement yesterday and today, well, mainly yesterday. We had a load of small sell signals, they made target. We consolidated today. We could do another leg down, maybe test the weekly pivot, 58.17, or we could return directly to the highs. We will see how it goes. No current divergence on ES. NQ could have had positive divergence develop, but didn't. RTY, we still had an open sell signal there. It was the only one that didn't make target. That went higher today, actually made it up to the target of the retest of this high here in the 2304 area. And the sell signal fell. So we no longer have an outstanding sell signal. We had a buy signal on Dow. That went up, almost made it back up into the high, and the buy signal made target. So that buy signal, which we had this morning as brewing, has made target. DAX, we didn't have one. ESTX, we had one. That's barely moved because ESTX barely got off the lows. DAX hadn't actually declined much, but ESTX, that declined quite a lot. This could be an overall bull flag forming. Keeping an open mind, 60-minute buy signal is fixed now. All right, let's have a look at the bigger picture charts. Looking at SPX, we didn't have any positive divergence this morning. Obviously, we had the sell signal yesterday morning, which has made target. We've seen a bit of a consolidation, wondering about a possible third wave down. We will see how that goes, but sooner or later, I'm thinking this is going back to the high. Now, I'm going to do a post tomorrow, which I'm going to be talking about this wedge here. Now, I've seen a couple of comments on Twitter yesterday and today talking about this wedge, talking about this overthrow. I think the problem is we did have a much nicer topping setup here, and it didn't do anything. We had a really nice open window with probably about 6 weeks of natural seasonal time where we might expect to see a decline, and we've got a week of that left, and really it's done nothing. So I think really at this stage, the burden of proof is on the bears. We need to see something from them before we start making any assumptions, and we need to see a lot more. One of the things we really would need to see, I think, is a break of this. If this is a wedge which is overthrowing at the moment, then you would expect to see it break down. That would require a break below this rising support trend line, which I've currently got at 56.85. Is that 56.85? Yeah, it is. Also, I think we would probably need to see a break below the daily middle band. The daily middle band, I've got at 57.52, so that would be broken first. But if we break the daily middle band, that opens this main wedge support. But at the moment, we've really not got a lot at all. Now, do we have a case for some consolidation? Well, we came pretty close to the 3SD upper band a couple of days ago. But I mean, really, that often just leads to a couple of days consolidation if you're not on an upper band ride, in which case you can have like 3 days where it touches the 3SD upper band. And we've actually seen a couple of days consolidation, so it's not necessarily worth anything more than that. We've still got a weak RSI 5 sell signal fixed, and on Dow, we've still got a full size sell signal fixed, but they've not delivered anything so far, and the truth is they may not. In terms of the Bollinger Bands we have covered. There's no divergence on the hourly chart yet, and we're not going to get any with a retest of the high because we've already come down too far. On NDX, 15-minute, we got buy signal. The buy signal made target on the NDX chart today on the 15-minute, and we've still got an open RSI 14 buy signal. So we've got a bit of positive divergence here, slightly less strong than the negative divergence we had yesterday morning. But we will see how it goes. I think bottom line on the SPX pattern is it's a nice pattern, no question about it. That's a lovely resistance trend line. It's a good overall pattern, but I mean, really in isolation, which really it is, it's not really enough to be hanging your hat on. And I'd be uninclined to do so. We had a nice looking double top here brewing on Dow, but obviously we've gone just straight up through it. No new divergence. We will see. I'm not ruling out the possibility that we will see a large decline from there. I'm just saying the best time to do that is obviously gone. And to be honest, the topping pattern we had when we were in the best time to do that was better than this one. So I think, as I said, it's a burden of proof thing. I think the bears have got to show us something. And at the moment, we haven't seen anything from the bears for quite a while. I'm unconvinced that we will see anything. And if we don't see anything, then I've actually got some pretty clear targets, and you can see hang on, wait a second. I've got them very well displayed on one of these. Let's see which one it is. It is the daily chart. Sorry, daily chart. We've got this wedge here, but you can see if we see it break up, then we've got a really obvious next target, and there's this trend line here, which is now slightly north of 6100. If this trend line breaks, then we could be setting up an alternate trend line, for instance, a channel. But the thing is, we've already got this overall larger rising wedge, I think it is, with a very clear trend line, and I think we might well be going there. And that would be a very obvious next target. So anyway, that's where we stand. On Dow, we did have a big resistance trend line. We've already gone through it. It would have been really nice to see a decent reversal, because when I started talking about it, and we were in September, we had a potential really nice looking double top. We were respecting this trend line. There were good reasons to think we might see a decline, but we didn't get it. And we will see. Do I have a successor trend line to this? Not yet. It may well be that we'll set one up, but just to illustrate how far we might get before we did that, let's just draw in the line here, and let's say the first one, I would say, would probably be here. That would be the first decent anchor. And as you can see, obviously, that's still some significant way above. And it wouldn't have to be that one either. It could just as easily be this one. And there are other options. It's the fact is, Dow has gone through the trendline resistance, and now there's kind of an open space above where we're waiting for the next high to give us our next data point. We will see. All right, looking at the IWM chart. Okay, IWM hang on, wait a second. IWM, looking at the 15-minute. Hang on, it's a 5. Looking at the 15-minute, we're still on an old RSI 14 sell signal. That's not really had an opportunity to make target here. We had the flag broke up, made target, and has gone higher. Is there an obvious target above? Yes, the retest of this high here at 227.85, and we haven't made it yet, and I think we're probably going to. Looking at the hourly chart, we've actually got a possible RSI 14 sell signal brewing. I'm skeptical about whether that's going to play out before we see a touch of this 227.85, which is now a very obvious and close to my target. And we've got no negative divergence on the daily, but we basically had consecutive touches of the 3SD upper band on 2 days. This is a potential daily upper band ride, and you've seen something like that here. We've saw 1, 2, 3, 4 days, I think. Basically all touching the 3SD upper band. If we do that again, obviously we could go significantly higher. We shall see. And that was making obviously this RSI high, which got to about the 93 area. Currently, this is pretty high. It's up at 87, but we have been higher. We've been higher than 90 twice. And again, we had consecutive days touching the 3SD upper band when we did that. We will see how it goes. But in terms of a ride when we are touching the 3SD upper band on consecutive days, I can see 2 on this chart, and they both reached over 90. We will see. There may well be more to come. All right, looking at DAX. DAX, we've got a potential little level top here, no current negative divergence. Nikkei went a bit higher, respecting the daily upper band at the moment. But obviously, if we see a significant breakup across the board, which I think is a distinct possibility here, then we're probably going to see a retest of this high here in the 42.4K area. So we'll see. All right, great. Let's have a move on to the DX chart. Okay, DX, we've seen Nice move up here. I've got more to say about this on the daily chart, but obviously this initial double bottom target that we'd made on the future has already made target, both of them. So we've got a 60-minute sell signal fixed, but this hasn't really delivered anything so far, and the last two failed. So I'm not reading a great deal into it. This has been a very strong trend and very persistent, and it's continuing to be persistent so far. CB, we saw a bit of a rally here. We had, I was saying that we had a 60-minute buy signal here, and that was supported by a sell signal on RSI, on the hourly RSI. We've made that the target on that TNX RSI 14 sell signal, I think, on the hourly chart. I'm thinking this may well come down again. We've got a 60-minute sell signal fixed, and I think the larger trend is likely down, unless we're forming an inverted head and shoulders or something. But in which case, we might see a bounce of the weekly pivot and continue higher. But on the bigger picture, I think this is probably still leaning short. Let's have a look at that. On the DX chart, obviously, the buy signals we had on the RSI 5 and RSI 14 have now both made target. On the USD chart, they've made target too. RSI 5 is in noticeably territory above 90 at the moment, but we've had a good opportunity to set up negative divergence, and we haven't set it up yet. I think I'd really like to see some more of a decline before we set it up. We've gone through the 50 DMA, we've gone through the middle band, we've been on a daily upper band, which we're falling slightly short of at the moment. But one thing I was saying a couple of weeks ago, I think, was I was talking about the possibility that on this double bottom that we'd make the target. We made the first target, but the second one's at about 104.1. We haven't made that yet. But if we made that target, then the obvious target would be a test of this megaphone resistance, which would be in the 104.7 area, 104.8. Because what I was saying was that we had a really nice support trend line. And support trend lines like this don't tend to appear in isolation. You tend to have a matching trend line. And the obvious matching trend line would be this one here. So I said that obviously increased the chances we were going to make it. And at the moment, well, I'm thinking we might well make it. We will see. We might see a pullback on the way. But I'm thinking this might well have the juice to get back there. And I'm watching that space. All right, looking at TNX. TNX, this was the hourly RSI 14 sell signal. We've made that target, and that is done. So on the bigger picture, we've got a double bottom that's broken up, and we were just doing a bit of a retracement, which you often get after a double bottom breaks up, and I'm thinking we may head up to that target. Bigger picture, I'm not seeing a big case for it from a technical point of view, but I'm wondering if this is a bull flag, whether we'll get back up to 45 and then break up with a target in the 49 at a retest of 49.97. I am skeptical about that, if only on the basis that we've already seen a 0.5% cut in interest rates. There's talk of another 0.75% before Christmas. I'm just wondering whether it can retest that high. I thought the opportunity to retest that high had passed, but actually this rally has kind of got us about 40% of the way there. I'm keeping an open mind. Maybe it can get further. We will see. But if we are going to hit the obvious trendline target, and what would be the flag resistance, then the next target would be 45. All right, so we shall see how that goes. All right, let's have a look at CL. CL, more downside today. We've got a potential little level bottom here. We've got a 60 minutes buy signals fixed. We've got a little pattern here. If we see a break over 71.4, we can see a move back into about the 83.2 area. We will see how that goes, but I wouldn't be surprised to see a bit of a rally. It's come down pretty quickly. Obviously, if something happens like Israel retaliates against Iran, we could see this moving back up pretty rapidly, and this could be a bull flag forming, although at the moment it's looking rather oversized. Nonetheless, nice looking double bottom setup, nice looking 60-minute buy signal. We will see how it goes. NG. NG has continued down. More to say about this on the daily chart, but obviously my next target for the triangle would be back in the 21.1 area, and currently that's looking pretty good. Let's have a look at that. Okay, let's have a look at oil first, though. So bear with me a moment. And on CL, no current divergence on the daily. Nice pullback. on CL, which I think is changing into the new contract tomorrow. We are back below the daily middle band, and we've confirmed the move back below the daily middle band. Really, I've still got a triangle target down at a retest of 63.57. I'm still expecting to see that happen. Obviously, that is subject to Middle East turbulence, but at the moment, that hasn't managed to break this back over triangle resistance, so I'm treating this at the moment as a political rally, and treating this as still being the target here at 63.57. And obviously, we've got back a long way to that here. Could this just be a bullish retracement? Potentially. But if so, it's going to need to get back over the daily middle band. I've got that at 71.80, and it would need to break and confirm the next day with another close above it. We'll see whether it can manage that. Looking at natural gas, sell signal made target on the RSI 5, so that is now done. Been pretty nice, the daily RSI 5 buy and sell signals here recently, actually. And on the bigger picture, this is what I'm looking at. This is the triangle I posted about 3 weeks ago, and we went up. I posted when it was about here. We went up and made triangle resistance. Bit of a rough hit, but nonetheless, very much it's still in line with the triangle. I like it when they do the perfect trend lines, but actually, in truth, triangles often don't. So the next obvious target would be down here at about the 2.1 area. Then I'd be looking ideally for a bounce into about 2.4 to 2.6 area, and then I'd be looking for a breakdown with a target at a retest of this 1.52. As I said, that could be a hell of a long setup because bigger picture, that is a very good support level. 1.52, 1.52, 1.61, and that's the only time we've basically been down there since 2000. I think the last time we actually got below 1.52 was in 95, 96. That's been a long, long while. And actually, the value of money has dropped quite a lot in the meantime. I would be surprised if it didn't hold that support. So if we do get back to there, I'd be looking at this as a nested double bottom setup. Potentially a double bottom setup that could take this a lot higher. Remember, in inflation-adjusted terms, even if this double bottom made the full extended target up in about the 18 area, that would still be less than what this high actually meant in real terms then. I am skeptical about that happening, but what I am looking at is the double bottom here that on a sustained breakup over 3.64 could get us back into the 5.4 to 5.7 range. That, I think, very much has a shot, and I quite like the fact that the 200 DMA and the 50 DMA are hovering, both hovering slightly above what would be double bottom resistance. So you could convert all three at once. We'll see how that goes. And obviously these are all moving targets. But I would note that on the monthly, we're starting to break back below the monthly middle band again. So depending on where we close the month, we saw a break back above the monthly middle band last month. And at the end of this month, if we're back below it, then that is an unconfirmed break. It is a break that failed. And quite often you will see a strong reaction back down from that kind of fail. We'll see. All right, looking at GC. I confused one of my viewers the other day, but when I was talking about the possibility that dollar might go up while precious metals went up as well. And actually, that's pretty much exactly what we've seen. And sometimes this happens. It doesn't tend to last terribly long, but basically, when you've got both of them, when you've got US dollar in a strong trend up and you've got the metals in a strong trend up as well, you can see this basically sort of champing at the bit to go up while the dollar is going. And sometimes it will break free of that. And we've been consolidating for quite a while, and it's gone back up, and we're pretty close to retest this high, which I'm leaning towards seeing. We had a 60-minute sell signal fix. I think we've still got one, but it's in trouble. And I think it may well fail on the next day. SI, we've got a potential. I drew in a megaphone here because actually the trend lines aren't bad for it. But I'm not saying this can't go higher. But I am thinking we might see a bit more retracement before it goes higher. But we've got a double top here. That, at the moment, looks as though it's in the process of failing. If it fails, then the target for that failure would be a retest of this high here at 33.25. Looking at HG, we had the wedge. It broke up, came back, has formed a slightly larger wedge with a very nice support trend line here, which I was looking around for and found. And now we're breaking up from it again. I think we may well see a larger rally here. So obviously we need to get a more than a marginal break here. And the week 60-minute buy signal has now made target. But I'm liking the upside here. And this is a nice bull flag on copper, and if that breaks up and makes the full target, that would be up at a retest of this high here in the 4.79 area. All right, let's have a look at that on the bigger picture chart, and the rest of the metals. Okay. GC, no current divergence, but obviously coming back in for a retest of the high, and it's pretty close to that. Same story essentially on the bigger picture chart. We could, of course, go straight through this. It might be difficult to make a lot of progress to the upside while the dollar is still rallying. And at the moment, I'm not seeing anything convincing saying the dollar is about to stop rallying. Looking at silver, SI, no current divergence, but the double top obviously looks as though it may well be breaking down back up into a retest this high here at 33.225, which was just short of this high here at 33.5, which I think we might head for next. Looking at the bigger picture, though, I would note that actually we'd already retested that high. That's more of a futures artifact than anything else. But we're breaking back, trying to break back over the daily middle band. And a retest of this high would be nice to see. It wouldn't set up any negative divergence on the daily chart, but it might start setting some up on the weekly chart on the bigger picture. We'll see. Because one thing I am noting is that this trend line that I drew in has been lasting a very long time so far. That's lasted about, I drew it about 4 or 5 months ago. That's lasted a suspiciously long time. I am wondering at the end of this move whether we'll actually see quite a sizable pullback on metals. If so, this would be a very nice little double top for me on silver. Just throwing it out there, but at the moment it's on the chart and I am wondering about it. All right, looking at palladium. Nice, though slightly unconvincing move up. But we saw a nice move up to 11,250, 11,2650, and we are probably heading back there. So I'm thinking we're probably going to see some more upside on gold, on silver, potentially a lot more upside on copper. And I'm thinking we might well do a retest of the high here on 1126.50. Looking at platinum, I was a little worried we had a double top breaking down here, a smaller one, but at the moment this just looks like a sideways consolidation, in which case I've still got an open double bottom target which is in the 107.2 to 108.1 area, and at the moment that is still on the table and may well still be made. Looking at HG, no current divergence down below the daily middle band, but I'm liking the upside here. On the index chart, we still don't have any positive divergence, though I thought about it. We need to see a bit of a rally here, but I'm quite liking the flag set up here, and I really like the wedge on the futures chart. So I'm liking this up into a retest of 4.79, and if we can get there, potentially back up into a retest of 5.199. Although, I mean, China demand on the bigger picture, I am wondering whether it's going to have the juice to get that far. But I think the case for a retest of 4.79 isn't bad at all. All right, GDX, we're back up retesting this highs. We never made it back to my support trend line. Might need to, might not, but the resistance trend line is pretty good, so it's pretty obvious where resistance is, and I've got that in about the 42.75 area. Looking at GDX, no current divergence on the hourly chart. GDXJ didn't make it to the trend line here either, is back retesting this high, and I've got the obvious trend line resistance, which again is nice resistance, up in about the 52.6 area. We'll see whether that holds. No divergence on the GDXJ hourly chart either. All right, let's have a look at commodities. The other commodities. All right, KC. We've got a nice move up here, and I note we've now got a perfect three-touch support trend line. If that breaks, then obviously we could see some follow-through. If it doesn't break, that could just be the support trend line that it's adopting to come back up and retest this high at 275. Week 60-minute sell signal is fixed. Not sure I'd trust it that much. SB, this still looks like a bull flag forming, holding above the monthly pivot at the moment at 21.62. CC, no current negative divergence. Nice little pullback here. We've not formed any obvious topping pattern, and until we do, I'm really just looking for a retest of this high here in about the 87.80 area. Looking at ZW, this looks like a bull flag forming. It's a nice looking support trend line that could break. It might not continue to form, but if it does, then the next obvious target within the flag would be flag resistance, carrying it up in about 608 area. Looking at corn, 60-minute buy signal is fixed, hasn't quite reached the possible near miss target with this little rally. Wondering about a possible IHS forming. We'll see how it goes. On soy, is retesting the low, got a nice looking little double bottom going. 60-minute buy signal is fixed and hasn't made target either. I'm wondering whether both of these are forming reversal patterns, which we're about to see play out. Looking at cotton, this still looks like a bull flag forming, but it's messy. Lumber, I think this is just a bullish consolidation before we come back up and retest its high in the 538 area. Live cattle, little double top, which is trying to break down, but at the moment I just think this is a bull flag forming in all probability. And lean hogs, we had a beautiful double top there. That never actually broke down. It's just rejected directly back to the high. This could be a double top, but honestly, I think I'm probably leaning more towards the upside. All right, let's have a look at those on the bigger picture charts. And on coffee, no current divergence. How seriously am I taking this trend line? It's not bad. It's not bad. So if that's the case, and I wouldn't expect us to come back and retest its low, and the obvious next target would actually be this trend line here, currently at about the 2.78 area. Looking at SB, SB, no current divergence, still looks like a bull flag forming. Pretty strong day to the downside today, obviously. CC, no current divergence, nothing to suggest it isn't going to go back and retest this high here at 87.96 on wheat. No current divergence worth the mention. We have broken down below the rising support and we've come back below the daily middle band. We have broken below it and spent 2 days underneath it. So it's current resistance. If we're going to see a decent rally on the grains, then we're going to see it break back over the daily middle band, which I've got at 588.85. Looking at corn, no divergence on the daily chart. We did have an IHS break up. That hasn't failed yet. The IHS, the IHS, if it is an IHS, has a right shoulder down at the 397 area. If we get down below 397, then I'll be wondering about a retest of the low at 385. Until then, quite liking the upside. Do we have any positive divergence on soy? Alas, we do not. But this is looking really, really oversold. So we haven't come back and retested the low. I am wondering if we might. And if there was an IHS on this, it would have failed. It could be that we're going to continue lower and retest the lows on the grains, on corn and soy particularly. I'm more skeptical about it reaching it on wheat. On cotton, no current divergence worth the mention. I'm not counting sell signals or buy signals to reach the possible near miss target. Testing the Keltner channel there, didn't get back up to the daily middle band, but I am wondering whether this is a bull flag, setting up a retest of this high and the next big resistance area, which I've got in the 75.84 area. We shall see. All right, and that is everything. So that is a wrap. Brilliant. I'll catch you guys Sunday.